Hi, Mark here. Trust you're well. Welcome to a recording of a live Lightroom Classic skills and support session that I hosted in October 2025. The narrative for the evening was importing but using smart collections as a part of our workflow. Now, if you'd like to come and join us on these live events where you can ask questions in real time, just visit lightroommark.com. Below the introduction video is my upcoming events. I hope you'd like to join us and also that this video is of benefit to you. So without any further ado, let's jump across to the recording. Happy photography. Hello everyone. I hope we're all well, the people that I haven't said hello to and so on, and you've had a good week, and as you can see, back to boring normality in the office. And I'm pleased to report from feedback that I've had that the Zooms all went well, and there wasn't any problems with traveling with equipment and so on. So that's great to learn that. If you took part in the Zooms while I was away in northern France and you have any feedback, please drop me an email. Tell me if there was something that could have done better, different, and so on, because it is a work in progress of taking these things, because next year with my PhD, I'm a lot of time away. I'm doing a lot of guest speaking. Um, so we have been looking at importing, and we touched on last week collections. So this week we're going to look at importing and utilizing smart collections. Why? Because the data from the camera, actual EXIF data, and in a few weeks' time, we've got a whole evening about EXIF data, followed by another one, or whichever way around it is, IPTC data. I'm going to go through what the difference is and so on. However, smart collections look at the data that we have in our camera and that we manually apply on import, which is IPTC data. So when we take our images from our smartphone, if we're syncing in the cloud, or importing them from our cameras, there is a set amount of data already in the file, and that's called EXIF data. And it's things like the camera name. And if you've got multiple cameras, don't worry about that, because it takes the camera serial number. The lens that we were using. Don't worry if you've got two 24-70 2.8 lenses. It takes the serial number of the lens as well. Then you have all the independent image data. So the f-stop, the ISO, did your flash fire, the metering, so did you use center weighted, spot, matrix, 3D? They're all different types of metering, and some different manufacturers have different names. So Nikon call it matrix metering when it does the whole sensor. Some call it 3D metering, so three-dimensional metering. It's all the same. It basically meters the whole of the sensor. So that's just a skim of the touch of the iceberg, all the data that comes from your camera. There is probably 100 different fields. So it goes on and on and on and on. And that's without including the what I call extras. For example, GPS. Some cameras have GPS built in. So you go click your shutter, it takes the longitude, latitude, so up and down where you are on the planet. Some of them will take the altitude as well, so if you're from sea level, and some of them, if they're really complex, will take the viewpoint, the angle that you're pointing down to. And that's a bit more of a specialist product. So I believe the Nikon GP1A, which is a little module unit that goes on top of the camera, it plugs in, takes your longitude, latitude, altitude, but also the direction, like a compass. I was pointing this way. Why do you do that? Well, it links with the map module, but you can revisit the place and get the same picture. And I call that optional EXIF data because not every camera has that. Now, on import, we bring all that data with us. Okay, so date, time zone, what camera, our star rating. Several of you know I'm very passionate about the star rating because it's the only attribute, it's the only additional filtering mechanism that we have that goes from your camera or phone and is preserved through every piece of software I've come through. So I have on my camera, I'm sorry for some of that you know that, I use one of the function buttons in playback mode and I apply a star rating to the image in camera. So I've gone on a safari or a cruise and I'm sitting here with my glass of wine and I'm chimping. I'm just going through the images, and the newer cameras you can swipe on the back of the camera going through your images, or I'm just using the joystick and going through. And I press FN2, which is the lower function button on the face of my camera, and it applies 1 star to the file, to the raw file. Why do I do that? Because it preserves that star rating through to importing. So the ones that don't know the answer to this question, see if you can hazard a guess. Why would I put 1 star on an image on the back of my camera in the first place? Anyone? Paul, you
That's
got
it.
a
Yeah, so you know which ones you really like.
yeah, perfect. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, you've looked on the back of the camera. I like that photograph. And you want to identify that photograph maybe 2 weeks later if you're on or 3 weeks Caribbean cruise or you're on safari. You want to, and you could have moved the images from your camera onto a drive or onto your iPad and synced to the cloud. It preserves that 1 star. So it's an identifier. Now, you don't have to put 1 star. You put 2 star, 5 stars, whatever you want to do, if you want to do it at all. But it's an identifier. And this is where smart collections come in your workflow. Thinking about, and I know I keep saying it, your destination. Where do I want to get to? Because all these skills and tools that we're talking about over these weeks, they're taking you to your destination and speeding up your importing workflow. So you do all your digital asset management, you do all your your keywording, your titling, and so on import. Because I used to just import the whole lot, that was it. And then I used to spend 2 days doing all the metadata, doing all the keywording, doing because I wanted to put them all into Lightroom and I wanted then to look at them all. That's all changed now. I batch import and I import as soon as I come away from the photography side of it, and I import them in batches. And the batches is narrative. So I'm applying the keywords, the metadata that I want at time of import. And yes, it might take me 20 minutes longer to do that, but I get to my destination after I've finished importing them. Okay. So if I'm on a holiday, and you can review them on your back of your phone. You can, whilst I was showing somebody, I had a small little USB lead. I plugged it into the camera. I plugged it into my mobile phone, turned on the camera. My iPhone recognized the camera was attached. I imported them all into Lightroom on my phone. That synced to the cloud, and I picked and rejected them all on my phone. And I will give you a practical of that a little bit next week. But when we're in Malta, I'll actually sit there in the apartment showing you how that's all done. So when things are fresh in your mind, you can, oh, I remember what that place was we went to today and that person's name or all those type of things. So taking the information from your camera, going back to the point, and identifying what data you want to use and how you can use it can speed up our final destination. So we do that with smart collections and collections, which we touched on last week. So we're going to look at this week smart collections. How do I explain smart collections? They are questions. You're asking Lightroom questions and it's presenting the answer. That's all it is. It's what we call in the IT industry an input output command. You're asking and you're saving those questions. But the great thing about smart collections, you can modify the question as an addition. Okay, and we do that via the library filter bar. So let's have a look at smart collections. Okay, so I've got these images here to import. Okay, now I'm starting from scratch in this case. Okay, and these are all street photography from Minehead. So I'm sitting there thinking, what are my keywords? What am I going to keyword these images with? Okay, it's the first thing I'm thinking of, and I've got some street images. I've got some coastal images. I've got some more street images here. So street and coastal and the town, Minehead. I've also got sunrise. Okay, so these are all going through my head. Okay, so I don't need to, but if it's a narrative that I do a lot of, then I will have smart collections. Okay, so I've already got one here called KW because it's abbreviated, and KW is keywords. So this smart collection has got keywords of Minehead. So keywords contain Minehead. And this smart collection has got 58 images in my catalog. Okay. Now, what I could do is I could add an additional rule or additional question by pressing the plus on the side here. And I could ask it for what they call source. Source is where am I looking for the images? So I could be looking in a folder, I could be looking in a collection, not to be confused with location. Location is the physical geographic location where you took it. So county, state, city, sublocation, or GPS data. Okay, so you could ask it to look in a particular source, so a particular collection, for example. So look for the words keywords in a particular collection. Okay, so we've already got Minehead as a keyword. Okay, so I already got that. Now, do I do a lot of sunrise photography? Well, yes, I do. So I'm going to create a smart collection and the keyword is sunrise. Okay. And again, I'm going to come down to other metadata. Keyword contains, and we click in here and just wait for it to render. There we go. Sunrise. Okay. Now, I've just created a smart collection. It's got 0 images in my catalog with the word sunrise. Remember that keywords starts at K and smart collections are above collections, but it's in numerical alpha order. So 2 is before D. D in the alphabet is before K. But smart collections, which are those with the ones with a little cog on them, okay, those are before the collections. Okay, So we've got a collection set, which is a folder, a group of collections, smart collections. Smart collections come first, then collections after it. Then after that, they go in number order. So from 1 to 9 and 0. Then they go A, B, C, D, E. And the reason why we put 1 or 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, that will appear before 2. Okay, so in dates, if you put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that will appear. But as soon as you put 11 in, it'll come after 1, which is why we put 0, 1. Okay, so we've now got sunrise and we've got mine and one. Oh, that's a collection. That's why that's there. So we had KW here and there's KW here, keywords, but these are smart collections. Got the cog on them. You might notice there's KW here, but this is a normal collection. They're grouped together first in collections, all right? So I'm going to look for sunrise and I'm going to look for Minehead. Now this one here, you can see is outside, okay? Because I need to drop it into the smart, into the folder, okay? Set, yeah? So I've got here raw. You see it's below, it's outside of the folder. So I can just, if I press shift and click, I can drag them both and they go into in a numerical alpha order. Okay. So that's how we organize our collections. So we got Minehead and we got Sunrise. Right. So now I'm going to look at the images that I'm going to import. So there's my thumbnails. I'm going to untick and I'm just looking for Minehead and Sunrise. Okay. And there's my images. No more images there. Right. So I'm going to tick them and I'm going to go to apply during import. So I'm going to type in Minehead and it will look for my metadata and I will type sunrise. Okay, so it's going to apply that to those images. Now, somebody asked me over the weekend about developing images and we talked about presets. And these are presets for developing. So it's got develop settings and you can apply a style. So somebody was saying that their greens are very green that get imported. And I said, well, just create a preset, mute the green slightly in your preset and apply that on import. So we can go to color, make it brighter, more vivid. So we're going to go vivid. Going to make these colors a lot more vivid. Now, where am I going to put them? Well, I'm going to put them in, these were taken in the 9th month, so they're going to go into this folder, 2025-09, and that was the date. And I'm going to move them in this case because I want to take them out of the folder that's on my desktop. Okay, so now I'm going to import them. All right, so they're all coming in. There we go. And then it's applying these actions. If we click top left-hand corner, it's got 3 actions. Smart previews, previews, and it's building all these actions up. And if I click on the first image, you'll see there's the keywords. And if I come to the smart collection, there's the keyword, there's the images, and they've been added to the collection. So I'm building a whole set of images in Minehead. Okay. So from here, I can say, I can ask more questions. All right. So I've got 80 images in this one. I'm going to ask more questions now. So my first question is, show me all the images that have got Minehead in as keywords. And we're just using keywords at the moment. I'm going to look at some more in a second. But I can go, show me more questions. What camera did I use? So this was Nikon Z5. 80 images are in the collection, but 43 of them were taken with the Nikon Z5. And there's the images. And if I want to see them bigger, I can move the thumb. at the bottom right hand corner. It makes them bigger. If you don't see that, it's a little triangle down the bottom of the center panel, little triangle pointed out, and there's all your options. If you want to make your screen bigger, press tab, depending on your screen real estate. Okay. And you can ask additional questions. So this is the first question. And like writing, we're going from the left to the right. So this is my first question. Show me all the images in my catalogue that keyworded with Minehead. Then show me all the images that were taken with the Nikon Z5. I've just got camera there at the moment. I'm going to show you some more functionality. Then show me the flag rating. Okay, they're all unflagged. 43 of them are unflagged. Okay. Then show me, in this instance, shutter speed, color labels. Okay. So I'm asking additional questions. It's gone from 80 to 43. But then I could say, show me the one at 50th of a second. And there's the picture of a cat that was taken in Minehead with my Z5 that's unflagged, and it was a 50th of a second. Or I could ask a different question. Aperture, f4. That's 10 images. I'm asking these questions and I'm filtering, but I'm asking additional questions. And these questions can be anything they want to be that's in the EXIF or IPTC data. So the date it was taken, the month it was taken, the day it was taken, the file type, whether it's flagged, which is what it's currently on, the star rating, has it been exported, what's the color label, what's the keyword. So I could say, show me all the other keywords. Okay. Yeah. Has it been edited? What camera? What's the camera serial number? The lens, the focal length, the shutter speed, and the list goes on. The more plugins you have, the longer the list is. Okay. Has it got lens blur? Okay. The aspect ratio. Okay. Is it portrait? Is it landscape? But again, I'm asking it from left to right, the questions, okay? And this is the answer that I'm looking for at the moment. But I can build this into the smart collection. I'm asking it in my head. Now I'm going to go plus, and I'm going to ask it a different question. Develop. And I'm going to come down to, oops. Develop settings, and I'm going to look at, see, we've got here, if you've got a modern smartphone, device depth, that's the laser that goes out and measures the depth of the image, so you can change your aperture. So let's have a look. Where am I looking at? Has been cropped, has AI masking. So have we done a master? Has it been denoised? Is it super resolution? Super resolution is making the image bigger than what it was originally. It's a Photoshop action that's come across. Size of the image, have we cropped it? But I'm looking for aspect ratio. So is the aspect ratio landscape? And now I've put that information into the smart collection. So now the first question is, show me all the images that keyworded that are landscape. Now show me, so there's my first two questions. I've got 61 answers there that meets that criteria. It was originally 80, and now I've only got 36 that were taken with the Z5. Originally it was 43. Okay, and there's my answers. So using smart collections and then using your filtering gives you so many options. Now, what's the difference with a collection compared to a smart collection? Two things I'm looking for.
You can share a collection, but you can't share a smart collection.
Yeah, that's one. Brilliant. Well done, John. And what's the other thing with it's a difference between the main difference between the smart collection and a collection?
You can't sync a smart collection to the cloud.
That's what John's just said, but well done. You were listening, Joan. So what
Smart
can you
collection,
do?
you restricted on size.
No,
A collection could go across all the modes.
yeah, collections and smart collections go across all modules. Yeah,
Smart collections too.
yeah. It's only folders that can't go across different modules. So what does smart collection do? There's a word difference to two different types of cars.
It
So
enables you
what does
to
it?
add filters or attributes.
Yeah. So a smart collection is automatic. You ask it question, and it's always asking that question. A collection is a manual transaction, a manual. You have to put the images into that collection.
It's
Okay.
static. It's
Yeah,
static.
that's a nice word. Thank you, Jay. Yes, it's a static moment in time. Okay. So where the smart collection is automatic, as you keep importing, if the image or video meets that criteria, the keyword is Minehead, it will add it to that smart collection. Okay, so you fill up my basket in in Tesco's with oranges, and you keep filling it up. You keep filling it up. It does it automatically. It doesn't know any different. Yeah, where a normal collection, it'll just do what you do, what you ask it to do. Okay, so that is, I'm going to put those images in that collection at that moment in time. I'm going to take that image out of that collection in that moment in time. And that's all it is. It's a static moment. Okay, but because it's a static moment, we can share them in the cloud. We can share them with ourselves across devices, and we're going to look into that next week, especially the workflow of culling and editing and so on using that on other devices. But you can share them with other people. Okay, so when we go to our web browser and type lightroom.adobe.com, you're looking at a collection that's come from Classic to the cloud. You're also looking at any photographs you've synced from your mobile phones or your cameras that you've imported into your phone or tablet to the cloud. And they're putting albums. And the reason why they're called albums is because of the manufacturers, Android and Apple iOS, they called them albums. So that Lightroom has continued the terminology of an album. Okay. So let's move back. Okay. So you've imported some images and you want to make a collection because you want to send them to a device or share them with somebody, or you want to collate a manual group of images from different dates, for example, or different cameras, or whatever you want to do. But you've used a smart collection to filter down those images. So we've got 61 images in this case that are landscape in Minehead. Okay, because they've been keyworded in this instance. Okay, right. But now I want to select some of these images and put them in a manual collection. So I'm just going to go create a collection, and I'm just going to call it Minehead. I'm not going to include any images that I've got selected at the moment, but I am going to tick sync with cloud just for speeding up the time. And here it is. This is a manual collection. And can you see there's a little twizzle squiggle here in the corner? That's telling me it's in the cloud. You can see there's one above. That's in the cloud. There's actually one below. That's in the cloud as well. Those collections are in the cloud. Okay. So this is the one that I'm interested in. I'm grouping these images together. I'm going to turn my library filter bar off, and I'm going to go to, and I'm keeping this simple for the narrative, because we can make this really complicated, as in you can have a collection set of the same narrative, and you can have, that's my first set, that's my second set, that's my third set. These are different filtering on different types of editing, which we'll look at a little bit later. Okay, so I like this image here. Okay, I want to add it to that manual collection. So I can just click on it, hold it with my mouse and drag it, and now it's in that collection. I can go back to this collection and I can say, right, I like this one. I can drag it and hold it. And I'm building up a theme of images. Okay, it's the story that I want to tell. There's other ways I can do this. I can scroll down and say, I like this image here. I can press the letter B on my keyboard. Okay, and B, what that does, it goes to your target collection. What's a target collection? If I go right click, I can select a target collection, and it puts a little plus here. Okay, you can only have one target collection. It's like bullseye. I'm shooting an arrow and it's going to that location. So if I go back to the image and I want to put this image here in that collection, if I press B now, see, it's now gone to 3. If I press B again, it's gone to 4. It's adding those images, okay? And I'm scrolling through. There's another way that I can do this. I can come to my paint can at the bottom. I can change the action. These are all different actions I've got here, to target collection. And it tells me my target collection is Minehead. So I scroll down and go, right, and spray on the actual image, not on the cell, the image. And we can see it's now been added to the collection. Okay. And I can be taking multiple images from multiple sources. So I can go here, spray on here. And I'm now building those images together. Now, as Jay said, great word, Jay, thank you. This is a static image or static collection of your images. It's a static moment of your selection of images. Okay. I'm going to put the paint can back on the dock, but I'll change my mind. Don't like this image. Now, there's 2 words. Visually, they're the same. Okay. But actions, they're different. And that's delete and remove. You cannot delete a photograph in a collection. Okay, I'm very specific in the word delete. You can only delete a photograph, a file in the folder structure, which is why another reason why we work in collections. It's a safety net of making mistakes. So if I press the delete key, it's going to remove the photograph from the collection, which is a different action to deleting the photograph from Classic or your hard drive. So if I went back to, there's the photograph still there. It's in the Smart collection because it contains the word Minehead and it's a landscape image. You cannot remove or delete anything from a Smart collection that meets the rule or meets the question. So anything that meets this criteria of keyword contains Minehead, aspect ratio is landscape, will always appear in the Smart collection. So if it meets that rule, it'll appear here. To remove it from this Smart collection, you have to make the image not meet the rule. So for example, if I took out the keywording of Minehead, it goes, it disappears. because it no longer has the keyword of Minehead. Okay, Command Z undoes. Okay, so how do I use this? Well, what I do is I create projects. So I create a collection set, project 1. Okay, it's going to go into training. There's my project. And I'm going to go, right, I want to do a project of Minehead. So the first thing I will do is I will create a keyword of Minehead. Okay, so the first thing I do is Minehead. Okay, there's all my images. Now I'll also create, and when we do the map module, I will create another smart collection that uses the map module. So I'll come here, I'll draw a collection. So I will do saved location, draw a map around it. So something like that, call that Minehead. Oh, can't spell. And I'll add it to a collection. I'll add that. There's my Minehead. I'll rename that. Okay, so now I'll create and look for all those images in that area. Okay, but we'll look at the map module doing that later. So I'll pick up images that I've not keyworded with Minehead, but have got GPS data inside that area. Okay, so it's a safety net. Then I'll start looking at images and I'll start culling them. Okay, so what do I do now? Anybody? No? Okay, so I'll create another smart collection. Now I could type it all in, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and duplicate the smart collection. And I'm now going to go picked. And I'm going to add an additional rule that the image is flagged. And you can see I've got no images. But if I go back to the original smart collection, go to my paint cam, change the tool to flag, I can now just spray on the images that I like. Okay, just coming down, spraying on the images. And now I've got a smart collection with those images in there. And I could do this, and this is one way of doing this, of picking and rejecting my images. Now, right, okay, I want to put this smart collection on my mobile phone. I've got to go to work, or while I'm on the train, I'm going to review these, or perhaps I might do some editing. So what I now do is I go Command A, select all, create a collection. So this is keywords, or it could be first cull. Okay, include the images that I've just highlighted, sync with the cloud, and those are now going to the cloud, to my mobile phone. Okay, so this is how my step-by-step, and I might have 8 or 9 different smart collections or collections here within my project. And then just to tidy it up, I do this. Okay. But this is second nature to me because I do this a lot. Now, I want to import them and sync them to the cloud. Okay. So I want to bring them to this point here. Okay. Automatically. That's easy to do. We're going to go import. We're going to go to the images. We're going to make sure that we've got do not import duplicates. So all the ones that have been imported will disappear. Okay. And now I'm going to look at some street images that I want. Okay. So I'm going to untick, and I like street images. So these are my street images. Okay. I'm going to apply my keywords. So Minehead, comma, street. Okay. But now I'm going to add them to a collection to start with. And I want that collection to go into the cloud. So I'm going to go to cloud, and I'm going to go plus, create this collection. Where do I want to create it? Well, I want to put it into cloud training. And this is Minehead Street. And I'm going to sync to the cloud. So I've created the collection. There's the collection. It's going to take these images, put them in the collection. Where do I want to put the actual files? I'm going to go into there, import. So it's now going to import them all. It's going to create the collection, which I've put in the cloud into training. Okay, Minehead Street. So there's the 11 images imported. There's the collection. There's the keywords. There's all the images. And if I open up Lightroom and we wait a few seconds, they will appear down the bottom right-hand corner. Minehead Street. There's the collection. And it's called an album. And we wait a few seconds and the images will start appearing. There's the Minehead ones. And they'll start coming in through in a second. Okay. There we go. Let's start to sync up here. Now, as a part of my workflow, the story that I say quite a lot, there we go. There they are. Now, these will appear on my phone.
And what's in the cloud and gone to Lightroom is the smart preview.
Correct.
So you haven't duplicated any of the images in your folder.
Correct. They should all be coming through. There we go. We're syncing. And they'll start appearing here, down here, shortly, down the bottom corner. Okay. There we go. We're syncing away. See, they're all starting to sync up here. And training. There you go. They're starting to come in. Minehead. Right, in a moment, we'll see them. There we go. Minehead Street. And there they are on the device. Okay, but we'll look at a workflow. We'll look at a workflow all about that next week. So collections are different to smart collections. Smart collections are asking questions, and they can be very, very complicated questions. And in a few weeks' time, we'll look at grouping questions together and or questions. Okay, so taking this day and have a keyword, and then having an or. So we'll look at that in a few weeks' time. So you can ask really complicated questions, and that's where when you've got big catalogs, in my case 400,000 images, show me a picture taken in this date that has Joan or Tony in the photograph, and it was taken in this geographic location in Norway. And you ask a smart collection that question, and it searches the whole of my 400,000 images and will show you the answer straight away. So this is why it's important, some way of adding data on importing, because when we want to ask those questions and bring back our images, we can find them. Okay. Did I explain that okay? No?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah? What I'd like to show you quickly is what I call a negative question. And I learned this actually in one of our classes. We used to do on a Monday night, there was a local funeral centre that had their, I don't know the right words, but where you would talk about the person in front, normally in front of a pedestal or something, you would talk about them and so on, and have a cup of tea, biscuits or whatever, and so on. You talk about perhaps if religious a verse or so on. But in the evenings, they let it out to clubs and groups and so on. And somebody asked the question, and I said, "Well, let's try it." And I actually learnt what the technique of what I call negative searching. So ask a question, but you're looking for a no as an answer. Okay. And the actual question that I was asking was about keywords. And the reason why I'm telling you this is you might sit and go, oh, right, I see the benefits of keywording on import, but what do I do about the photographs that I've already got? So you have images that are not keyworded. That's what I mean by a negative search. So let's just create a collection set and let's just search. Okay. So I'm going to ask several questions in several different ways in smart collections. So I'm going to go to create me a smart collection. Keywords are nil. So keywords are empty. Okay. Simple question. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for all the photographs that have got no keywords. Create 1,802 images. They've got no keywords. And now I can sit there and say, right, okay, I now need to keyword. What's an easy way to keyword? Anybody?
Do them in date form.
Yeah, search them in date. Because if you are on the 28th, I think it is, the 28th, Sunday, the 28th of December 2008, you were taking a load of photographs, the odds are they're all very similar photographs. So these images here, all I've done is I've highlighted them and they're in Minehead. Now, you only get this chance once, okay? So do not press return because you're adding a keyword. And this smart collection is looking for no keywords. Can you see I've come off that keyword list and they've disappeared because I added the keyword. I clicked off this box. So I'm going to type Minehead. I'm going to come to the end of the keyword. Now I'm going to press comma. I'm not completing what we call in computer terms transaction. I'm continuing the transaction. Steam. Turntable. Yeah. West Somerset Railway. And then when I've got them all in my head that I've got, press return, they now have been keyworded. These ones, I'll click on the first one, shift click on the last one, the King, West Somerset Railway. I'm separating the keywords with a comma. Steam engine. Now I press return, I'm applying the keywords to all of them. So I'm going through, I've already done half of them now. Okay. Photographers. West Somerset Railway. Steam. Gala. Okay. Applying the keywords. Okay. These are all the same. Braunton. West Somerset Railway. Will it on? Press return, I'll apply. So I've now just keyworded that whole day. So this is how you would, perhaps in your, or one way in your current form is you'll batch keywording them. There's one here, beach. You just go through keywording them. Okay, but you can do multiple ones together. February, dog. Or you can spray keywords on and you just go through. Photo, walk. Okay, just keep going through them and doing them slowly, slowly, and slowly. So this is Cornwall. St. Michael's Mount. Cornwall. Okay. So that is a negative search. Show me the results that my keywords are empty. Okay, but I could do lots of different ones here. Okay, show me title. Okay, so come to my metadata. Other metadata, title, contains, or is empty. These are all the ones that are empty, 2060. Okay, got no title. Or you could ask it, have no other metadata, creator. Okay. Right, does not contain. They've got no creator. Creator is who's the copyright holder down here, artist, creator. Okay. So you can create negative questions. You're looking for the ones that have not got. Okay. Flagged. Show me all the images that are unflagged. There's all the images that are unflagged. And now I can filter them by date. That's the great thing about, oh, I need to cull these images. I need to pick them. And that's what we use smart collections for. Now, you can create your negative, duplicate that smart collection, sync it to the cloud. And next week, I'll show you how you can then update that on your smart device or tablet or phone or web browser or whatever. So you're working away from your computer. Perhaps you're at work or on the train, because you can do all this offline and you can edit, you can sync, you can add metadata, pick, reject, sync them to the cloud, and then it'll all come back to classic for you. Everyone's gone quiet. Okay. So importing, adding a keyword, looking at smart collections. You can duplicate the answer of a smart collection, add it to a collection, which is a static, thank you, Jay, moment in time for your collection, sync that to the cloud, do things in the cloud. Okay, you can share that with other people. We'll look at that next week. Okay, so you could go on a family holiday, want to share the images with your family, your wife, partner, husband, whatever. You could import them, add the keywords, pick and reject them, duplicate it, put it in a collection, and then say, right, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, I'm going to add to another collection. So you're on your third collection now, and I'm going to share those with my husband or wife. Send them a link. They can have the free version of Lightroom on their phone, so you can password protect it. Okay. Or you can just send them a link to a web page. They can click on it and view it as a web page. They can put a heart symbol. They like it. They can add a comment to it. Oh, I'd love this one. This would look nice to go up on the wall, you know, in the study or the lounge or something like that. Or what would this one look like in black and white? They can leave a little comment on the image and it will come back to you in classic. Okay. Just like we do on Facebook, we leave a little comment by the side. Oh, I love this image, and they leave a little comment. Well, you can do all that privately, all in Lightroom. Yeah. And we'll look at all of that next week. But it's all from importing. Okay. And the reason why we use collections, not folders, is work in every module. They can sync in the cloud. You can have the same images or the same image in multiple collections. Either that's by censorship, as in you don't want other people to see them. You want to share a collection with somebody, but then you've got let's say a friend rather than a family member. You can take the images out or remove them from a collection or keep them in the collection. Yeah. You can go to other modules, create slideshow, book modules, and so on. Okay. Questions, anybody?
Not a question really about the smart collections, but when you were doing your keywording, I
Yeah.
noticed when you were typing Minehead, you had like a little arrow or
Yeah.
something, and then you had the capital word Somerset. Why was it doing
Yeah.
that?
Okay. So bear in mind, this is my training catalog, and there's lots of errors in there because I show people the errors. When you set up hierarchical, let's show you. Okay. So when we're in the keyword list, we create what they call hierarchical. So this is your keyword list. Okay. You can see this is all messed up all over the place. But when you create a keyword, I use identifiers. So some people might put an identifier as town like that. They do it in full letters. And it will appear like this. And that is an identifier. It's a keyword. Yes, it is a keyword, but it's an identifier as far as I'm concerned. And it's the start of a list. So the keyword Brighton. Okay. And I put it in a list of town. So the reason why is I'm going to create a list because you can imagine as this is, it's getting longer and longer and longer. So you break them down into smaller lists, but you want to keep the list as a title and identify. It's not a keyword in my case. It's the name of the list. Now, when you create that, so on a city, if you don't untick these boxes here, it will include it in any export. So now this city word will not be exported, and that's what you were seeing.
Right,
Now,
okay.
what I would then do is I would type London, make sure it's exported, then it's come here, then I would organize, put it there. And now the word city would not be seen up top in the keywords up here. So this Somerset word is being exported.
Right, okay.
Right. So that's the reason why is when they were created, the word Somerset was ticked. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So there's no right or wrong way of doing any of this. It's identifying what is useful for you. So in my main catalog, those identifying headers, if you want to say of the list, the titles of the list, I only capitalize the first letter. So town will be capital T and then sort of small letters. But it's when I type in, when I go to the keyword box, I might have the word Minehead twice. If it's got a capital M, I know to ignore that because it's searching for the keyword. As I'm typing Minehead, it's searching for the keyword. And if it's got a capital M, I know it's a title of a list, small little list of whatever it is. So I ignore that Minehead, and then there'll be one that says Minehead, but it's all in lowercase. And that's the key word. So it's a visual identifier. Okay. But it's not necessarily the right way. It's just the way that I've done it. You might just have keyword lists of all of them in a long line, and they're just numerical and alpha order. And that's fine. But if you've got, like in my case, 250,000 keywords, and I'm saying that just as a stupid number, you want some form of order and structure. And every time I add new keywords, they go into a list. So they'll go into the top hierarchical, and then I'll drag them into the list. So they're all neat and tidy. So I've got two geographic lists. One is called spaces and one is called places. And you've got to have some form of structure. Yes, I know there's two Londons. Yes, I know there's two Parises. Yes, I know there's two Brussels. Yes, I know there's two Sydneys or whatever. So there's always going to be exceptions to the rule. But a place is normally unique. Okay. So Minehead is unique for me anyway. All right. But a beach, a coastline, a river, a stream, a cliff, they're not unique. They are spaces. So when I do my keywording, it's Minehead, comma, beach. It's in Minehead and it's a beach. Okay, two different keywords in two different lists. And then you can say contains all in your keyword list. So show me in a smart collection contains all Minehead and beach. Okay, or it can contain the words Minehead and beach. So it will give you, the answer will be all the pictures in Minehead and all the pictures with beach in them. So you'll get Cornish beach, you'll get Weston-super-Mare beach because it's got the word beach in. Right, that's contain and contains all. Two different ways of looking. But we'll look at all the keywording and smart collections when we do that in a couple of weeks' time. Okay. I get very nervous when everyone's sitting there quiet. Either I bored you or...
I think there's a lot to take in, Mark.
Yes, it is. You're totally right. Totally right. And that's why I try and break it down just to an hour and try to do, we're doing this over 3 weeks.
How do you set up a hierarchy? Is that just a keyword and then it becomes a hierarchy when you put things inside it?
Correct. You just drag and drop.
Okay.
So you're talking about keywords, yeah?
Yes, keywords.
Yeah. So we'll show you slightly different. All right. So I want to take this cat. Okay. We've got dog, cat. So animals. Okay. So animals is the top. Bird, drag that up there. Cat, drag that up there. Dog, cat, drag that up there. Okay. Pets, drag that up there. Okay. And that's now hierarchical.
But wouldn't
And
you
now,
not? So would you not put that in capitals, the animals?
It's your choice.
Mm.
Your choice. My workflow is I just capitalize the first letter.
Okay.
But if you want to capitalize the whole word, if you want to put a space, n space, and so on, etc., and put space, it's an identifier. So it's a title, right? I've got bird here. If I wanted to put bird, okay, there's bird. Just drag it into the list. Now I've got bird and bird. Bird is the title with a capital, or if I wanted to capitalize it, right, now I know that's the title to the list, and it's a sub list on a bigger list. Animals, it's your choice, but it's the action of now you know. See, if I go up here, go to keyword, and I type comma bird, Okay, I've got bird, bird, and birds. Well, which
Mm.
one's the keyword? Is it this one or is it this one? Because they're lowercase. Yeah.
Mm.
Typing's not very good tonight. There we go. Yeah, it's only identifiers, and there's no right or wrong way.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a lot to take in. It's something you just keep progressing, and some of you will know here 10 minutes every day. There was a study done, I think it was an American university did a study, Rule of 100 it was called. They gave several thousand people tasks to do, and they said, could you do this once a week? Could you do this twice a week? Could you do this 3 times a week? Could you do this every day for 10 minutes? And they found that if you did an action 10 minutes every day for a whole year, you'd be in the top 5% of knowledge in that subject or that discipline or whatever. You'd be good at it. Now we call it practice makes perfect, but I believe there's no such thing as perfect. Practice makes better. But you can remember what you did yesterday. You can remember where you were. You can remember what you were doing. You can remember, but can you remember what you did a week ago? Well, how do I do this? And it takes you, you could spend the hour doing the same amount of work, but in the first 10, 15 minutes, you're remembering where you were or what you were doing or how you do it or whatever. So by just doing 10 minutes of keywording, 10 minutes of, firstly, you feel so positive in yourself that you've done, crikey, I've done 15,000 keywords this week and I've only done 10 minutes every day. But you sitting here going, "Oh my God, I've got to do an hour's keywording, and that's only oh, where was I? What am I going to do?" and so on. And then before you get to the end, oh bloody hell, I've only done 1,000 because you spent half the time remembering where you were. So yeah, and I also and I do that in a lot of my. It was somebody that one of my lecturers told me in my BA when you do reading and research and so on, you do it for an hour and then you take a 10-minute break. And then you do it for 15 minutes and take a 15-minute break. And then you do it for 40 minutes and take a 20-minute break. Then it's lunchtime. So, and then you come back and you've had an hour away from it. You start again. You do an hour with a 10-minute break. And then you do another hour with a 15-minute break. And then you do another hour with a 20-minute break. And then in half an hour and you've called it a day. And you get so much done because the monotony of doing the research doesn't creep into the conversation. So by doing the 10 minutes every day, you don't get bored with it. You don't get this. You're sitting there having a cup of coffee. You're sitting there on your dining room table, or wherever, with your laptop, looking out a lovely view out the window, and you just fly through them very, very quickly. Or set yourself a goal. When I keyword by a month. I do a month at a time. So rather than doing 10 minutes or whatever, because I do them relatively quickly, I sit and go, right, okay, what year am I on? I've got a smart collection there. They all are, right, okay. And filter it down to, right, I'm going to do September. And I do the whole of September, boom. And then I walk away from it, physically walk away from it. I'll go downstairs and do something downstairs and I'll come back and I go, well, it only took me 20 minutes to do those 10,000 keywords. I'll do another month. Oh, there's only 200 in there, so I'll quickly bang that out. And by the end of the week, I've done 2 years, or by the end of the week, I've done 4 months, or whatever it is. So you feel positive in yourself. But that works for some people and it doesn't work for others. There's no right or wrong way. Keep saying it. I'm sorry. It's what works for you. But understanding the tools, understanding where you want to get to, and working out a methodical structure get you there. And it's okay to, that doesn't work. And you've identified either what you're doing, the tools that you've got, the knowledge you've got, or how you're doing it, whatever, doesn't work for you. So re-examine it. Talk, have a conversation. This is what second hour is for. Okay. Dave, you're sitting there thinking, I can hear the cog going round. Any questions?
Well, no, but I do tend to do that. Maybe a bit more than 10 minutes, but I try and do a bit each day.
Yeah. AD, you got any questions?
No, not all back smart. Just take it all in.
Yeah, it's just, so it's just methodical working away at, and in my case, I've got a stack. I've got two stacks about foot high bare drives from 500 megabytes to 2 terabytes, 500 gigabytes, sorry, to 2 terabytes of images to import. And if I don't keep it just the job is so overwhelming, you'd never start.
I call that ditch digging. So it's Lightroom ditch digging. You just spend 10 minutes digging the ditch and then, the next day dig the ditch and gets a little bit further.
The most frustrating thing I find is that I'm digging the ditch, and then 20 minutes later I'm going X X X X X X. I'm filling the ditch back up again. So why the hell did I dig it in the first place? So, and that's all the ones that I've rejected. But all of a sudden, you come across you come across that lump of gold that you've been panning for years, and that's the image. Oh wow, look at that! I took that so many years ago. I remember those emotions from taking it, and you sit and go, wow, wow, I'm gonna have a big print of that. So that's you gotta find the golden nugget, golden image. But yeah. So anyone got any questions about that? Do you want me to go through anything again?
No.
No, it's a lot to take in. I totally get that. All right. Next week, I'll add mobile devices. I touched on it with the tablet tonight, but I'll show you. We'll import a couple more of those images. We'll add the keywords. We'll take them to the cloud. We'll do some culling in the cloud. We'll do some smart collections, and I call that so to save any confusion. There's no such thing as a smart collection in the cloud, but we'll look at the equivalent to smart collections in the cloud. And I have shown you before, I know I have, the asking Lightroom in the cloud. That's the important thing, not Lightroom local, Lightroom in the cloud. You ask it to look at the narrative, the subject of the photograph, and it comes back with the answers. Very, very spooky. And then you add those to an album, allow that to sync back to classic, and you've allowed the technology to find the images for you, and then you keyword them in the album in classic as a single transaction, as a single execution. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so you could, in this case, this training catalog's got 2,000 images in there. They're all in the cloud. I can type in Steam Engine, they'll all come back. I can add them to an album, put the album, it will sync back to classic, and then just keyword the whole album Steam Engine. So that may be a better workflow for you. And it does it with faces as well. Put all your images as smart previews into the cloud, and it'll group them all together for you. And all you got to do is name that one person. Then add all those pictures of that person, add them to the cloud as an album, then allow it to sync, then go to Face ID. All the faces will be there, and then just Face ID them, that person, in Classic. Not keyword them, Face ID them. Subtle difference. Okay. Does anyone have any standard not basic, but any questions that they need help with Lightroom? Anybody? No?
No.
Okay. You don't want me to go back through anything tonight? Okay. So next week, we'll go on to the next step onto this, into my workflow. We'll look at mobile devices. So from classic working to mobile devices. So I've said it earlier, you're going on the train to work, or you're going to sit in the garden, or because you can download all this local to your device and sit on the train and do it all on the train. So if you commute to work or whatever, you can do all your keywording on you. You know, some people read a book, some people listen or watch a film, but you can sit there and keyword. You don't need internet access. Once you've downloaded them to your device, you can just sit there and pick and reject, edit, keyword if you wish, or put them into an album and keyword. I'll show you that workflow. But you can do all that on the mobile device. Okay. Right then. Well, if there's no questions, we'll call it a night then.
Cheers, Mark.
Yeah. Okay. Lovely
Yeah,
to see
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
And hopefully see you Wednesday. Take care. Have a
Cheers.
nice evening. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Right.